Good day, everybody. Today we're going to be doing a trip all the way around the ramparts or the walls of Jerusalem. The trip is about 4 kilometers long. We're going to be starting here at Jaffa Gate, which is behind me. We'll be heading south in that direction. You can see the walls heading to the south, and then we're going to be coming back and finishing here at Jaffa Gate also. So come, let's go. The tour starts here at the base of King David's Tower. Despite the fact that it's called David's Tower, it has nothing to do with David. This tower was built 1,000 years after David by King Herod. We're still really not sure why we still call it David's Tower. Anyways, let's go in. Boker Tov. One of the things that we found here are remnants of Herod's palace. Here to my left, just down at the bottom of the stairs, are the remnants of a pool. Did King Herod bathe in this pool? Well, we don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Okay, we can see to the west the King David Hotel, Israel's fanciest hotel, and beyond it, just poking up behind it, we can see the top of the tower of the YMCA, the nicest, the fanciest YMCA in the world. Let's continue on. Arrived at our next gate. The gate is obviously below us. This is Zion Gate. We can see from the top of Zion Gate, we can just see to the south of here, Mount Zion, with on the right-hand side, the Church of the Dormition, where, according to one of the traditions, the Catholic Church believes that Mary fell into a perpetual sleep and rose up to heaven. And just beyond it, to the left of it, we have King David's tomb and the room of the Last Supper. Anyways, we're going to continue on from here to the east to see to the next gate, which is Dung Gate. Before we continue on, I forgot to mention, we can see farther to the east, we can see the Mount of Olives with the tombs on it, and just to the north of it, we can see the Jewish quarter, the synagogues of the Jewish quarter, the two white domes, and then beyond it we can see the Golden Dome, the Dome of the Rock. Anyways, let's continue on. This is Zion Gate behind me from down below and from the inside. I will just take a quick look at it, and then we'll go back up onto the ramparts up above. We're leaving the walls, and we're just going to be walking at ground level for the next about a third of the way around Jerusalem. We're making a quick stop here because we can see in front of me over there to the northeast, we can see just the top of the Western Wall, and behind it we can see the Golden Dome, the Dome of the Rock, which is sitting on top of the Temple Mount, where the two temples stood, Herod's temple and Solomon's temple. And we're going to make our way from here to our next gate, which is just over there to my right, Dung Gate. So come, let's go. This is Dung Gate in front of us. Dung Gate is the lowest gate in the city of Jerusalem. It's traditionally been called Dung Gate because of its being the lowest gate. This is where the garbage was always taken out of the city of Jerusalem. And Dung Gate from the outside. We're now going to continue our way to the east alongside the Turkish wall. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. The last 100 to 200 meters, we've been walking along parallel to the Turkish wall. The Turkish wall built by the Turks, by Suleiman the Magnificent in the 16th century. So up until this corner right here, this is Turkish. If we look a little bit farther to the south, we can see in the distance another wall. That wall is Herodian, built by King Herod 2,000 years ago. This was the main entrance to the Temple Mount. for people coming to visit the temple to bring sacrifices or maybe just to see it. And in front of it, we have found the remains of dozens of mikvahs, of Jewish ritual baths, so that Jews going up to the temple could cleanse themselves before entering this holy site. So behind me, to the left, we have the Turkish wall, and then to the right, we have the Herodian wall, 2,000 years old. Let's continue on. Okay, we've arrived at another important spot. Directly behind me, we can see the southeastern corner of the Temple Mount. This corner, as I said a moment ago, was built by King Herod, 2,000 years old. But one of the reasons to stop here is that you can see how massively huge this was. This was one of the most impressive engineering projects that dates back to the Roman period. We're not 100% sure. We have ideas, but we're not 100% sure exactly how it was built. And then farther to the north, we can see one other thing. A little bit difficult maybe to see, but we can see a seam line where there's a change in engineering. That seam line represents the end of where King Herod built, and just to the north of it is, the wall is earlier. It dates back to the Hasmonean period. That is the 2nd century before the Common Era. That is more than 2,100 years old. We're going to continue to the north here, walking along the eastern wall of the Temple Mount and Jerusalem. I hope you can see a little bit better the seam line. To the left of the seam line, that was what was built by King Herod 2,000 years ago. And to the right of it, to the north, that dates back to the Hasmonean period, or the Maccabees, the 2nd century before the Common Era. Let's continue on. We have arrived at what may be arguably the most important gate in the walls of the city of Jerusalem, called both the Golden Gate and the Gate of Mercy. According to Jewish tradition, this is where the Messiah will be entering Jerusalem. Truthfully, it's not only Judaism, but all three religions, Islam and Christianity, also believe that in this area the Messiah will be entering or re-entering the city of Jerusalem. And to that end, at the base of the wall, we have a very large Muslim cemetery, as well as on the opposite side of the valley, on the opposite side of the Kidron Valley, we have a very large Jewish cemetery. And in addition to that, opposite us, we have a number of very important Christian churches. Gethsemane to the left, where Jesus was arrested the night before his crucifixion, and to the right of it, just above it, we have this beautiful Russian Orthodox church, the Church of Mary Magdalene, where the grandmother of King Charles, Princess Alice, is buried. But we saw that in a previous video of mine. Anyway, we will be continuing on to our next stop. we've arrived at our next gate. This gate, like the previous one, also has the honor of having two names. Its first name is Lion's Gate, and it's called Lion's Gate because this gate was built by Suleiman the Magnificent in the 16th century. And according to the stories that I'll admit we guides like to tell, Suleiman the Magnificent was suffering from nightmares, and in these nightmares he was being chased by lions. He was advised by somebody to capture the lions and imprison them in the wall, which he did. And you can see the lions up there on either side of the gate. And the story must be true because after that, Suleiman the Magnificent stopped having nightmares. The gate is also called St. Stephen's Gate. St. Stephen was the first Christian martyr. He was martyred, stoned to death, somewhere down at the bottom of the hill. Anyways, we are now going to continue on and climb back up onto the walls, onto the ramparts, and continue the rest of the trip on top of the walls. We've reached what is referred to as the Stork Tower. The Stork Tower, like the rest of the wall around the old city, was built by the Turks, by Suleiman the Magnificent, in the 16th century. It's named the Stork Tower because, according to some stories, this was the spot where the Crusaders broke through into the city of Jerusalem. And one of the symbols of the Crusaders was the stork. Thus it's called the Stork Tower. Let's continue on our way. We can just see up ahead of us, just to the west, over there, that is the Flower Gate. That's our next gate and tower. Let's continue. We are now on the next gate. we are on the Flower Gate, also called Herod's Gate. The Flower Gate is, in my view, one of the, it's a very small gate, but it's also quite a beautiful gate. It leads directly, one of the two gates that leads directly into the Muslim quarter. It was a later addition to the walls by the Turks. They added it in the 18th century, the 1800s, excuse me, to make easier access to the old city. We'll just take a quick look at it, and then we'll head back up onto the ramparts for the continuation of our walk. Okay, we've arrived at our next gate, the penultimate gate in our tour around the walls of Jerusalem. We've arrived at Damascus Gate, certainly one of the most impressive and the largest of the gates in Jerusalem. Just opposite us, we can see to the south, we can see the Golden Dome of the Rock. And before we continue on, we will just go outside and take a look at the gate from the outside. Damascus Gate behind me, possibly the biggest, the most beautiful, most impressive gate in the walls of Jerusalem. After seeing it from ground level, we will now head back up onto the ramparts and continue our walk around the walls, the ramparts of Jerusalem. This is the new gate from the outside behind me. And this is the gate from the inside. And now we'll head back up onto the ramparts and continue our walk to our final stop, our final gate, Jaffa Gate. As we saw a moment ago, we've arrived at our final gate and tower, the New Gate. The New Gate was built in the latter half of the 1800s as a way for the residents of the Christian quarter behind me to access the new Catholic institutions outside of the old city. To the left, we have the St. Louis Catholic Hospital, and to the right, we have Notre Dame. Notre Dame is the center of the Catholic Church here in Jerusalem. One last thing before we go on, I want to point out that this video was shot in the week or so after Christmas. In a moment, we'll be at our final destination and the end of this tour. We've arrived back at our starting point, Jaffa Gate. We're on top of Jaffa Gate right now. Anyway, if you enjoyed the trip, then please feel free to like and subscribe. Also, if you're interested in actually walking the Ramparts Walk or visiting Jerusalem or any other parts of Israel, then please feel free to contact me. Thank you for joining me.
No,